Good morning. Today we will see the preterm labor. Every year, an estimated 15 million babies are born preterm. That means before 37 completed weeks of gestation, and this number is rising. Preterm birth complications are the leading cause of death among children under 5 years of the age, responsible for approximately 1 million deaths in 2015. The 3/4 of these deaths could be prevented with current cost-effective interventions. Across 184 countries, the rate of preterm birth ranges between 5 to 18% of babies born. So we can define the preterm labor. It is defined as one way the labor starts after 22 weeks of gestation and before 37th completed week. That means before completion of 259 days, counting from the first day of last menstrual period. Contractions are less than 10 minutes apart, resulting progressive cervical changes or cervical dilatation of 2 cm or effacement of 75%. The subcategories of the preterm birth based on the gestational age, they are extremely preterm, that means before 28 weeks, very preterm 28 to 32 weeks, and moderate to late preterm, that means between 30 to 37 weeks. Why do we care about the preterm? Because it constitutes nearly 12% of birth and 2% before 32 weeks. The significance, it is the second leading cause of infant mortality, second leading cause after the congenital anomalies. Relationship between mortality and gestational age is striking and falls exponentially until term. Preterm birth is responsible by 3/4 of neonatal mortality and 1/2 of the long-term neurological impairment in children. So we care about the preterm birth. So the risk factors are divided into 3 categories. It can be divided into medical or the obstetric categories, current pregnancy related and geographical. The medical and obstetric factors include prior preterm birth, previous second trimester abortion or miscarriage, cervical incompetence, uterine cervical abnormalities, hypertension, and diastole stilbestrol exposure. And current pregnancy-related factors include anemia, multiple gestation, placenta previa, abruptio placenta, fetal anomalies, hydramnios, abdominal surgeries, maternal infection, bleeding, cervical effacement more than 50%, previous history of preterm labor, uterine distension, and cervical incompetence. The demographic and behavioral include maternal age below 20 or above 35, low socioeconomic status, single parent, smoker, drug dependence, low pregnancy weight gain, inadequate antenatal care, and psychological stress. These are considered as the factors which contributing to the development of preterm labor. The clinical manifestation first is uterine cramps, menstrual-like, intermittent or constant. Uterine contractions occurring at interval of 10 minutes or less, low abdominal pain or the pressure on the pelvic pressure, dull low backache, increase or change in the vaginal discharge, feeling that baby is pushing down or that something is in the vagina, abdominal cramping with or without nausea, vomiting or diarrhea. The prediction of preterm labor, this means the first one is the symptoms of the previous symptoms of preterm labor, uterine contractions, that is at least 4 per hour, fetal fibronectin, that is F protein, which present the fetal tissues from 16 to 20 weeks, and then at near term. If this appear early, that means it suggests labor start early. This fetal fibronectin we can find out by the examination of the maternal vaginal mucosa. The cervical length short or less than 1 inch and effacement of 80%, vaginal bleeding, and previous history of preterm labor. Diagnosis: regular uterine contraction with or without pain at least 1 in every 10 minutes. Dilatation of cervix more than 22 cm and effacement more than 80%. Length of cervix, that is measured by transvaginal sonography, less than 2.5 cm, and funneling of the internal os. And the patient is a feeling of pelvic pressure, backache or vaginal discharge or bleeding. It is better to overdiagnose preterm labor than to ignore the possibility of its presence. Preterm labor is very unlikely when the cervical length is more than 30 mm, irrespective of the uterine contraction. Fibronectin is a glycoprotein produced by fetal membranes and functions as adhesive to hold membranes against uterine myometrium. That means to bind the fetal membranes to the residua. Normally, it is found in cervicovaginal discharge before 32 weeks and it may find after 37 weeks of pregnancy. That means between 27 to 37 weeks, we cannot find out the fibronectin in the vaginal mucosa. It will be seen before 22 and after 37. So, presence of this fibronectin in the cervicovaginal discharge between 27 to 34 weeks is a predictor of preterm labor. When the test is negative, it is reassures that delivery will not occur within the next 7 days. How we can prevent preterm labor? Preterm labor prevention can be done by primary prevention, secondary prevention and tertiary prevention. Primary prevention aimed at reduce the incidence of preterm labor by reducing the high risk factors. We have seen so many cases which we can prevent that we can reduce. Then secondary care includes screening tests for early detection and prophylactic treatment or stoppage of the preterm labor, and tertiary care aim to reduce the prenatal morbidity and mortality after the diagnosis. And by community education, role of early and regular prenatal care including dental care, duration of normal pregnancy should be known to the patients, the people, consequence of preterm pregnancy to be informed, and conditions that risk for the preterm labor has to be told to the community. During pregnancy, the prevention is by adequate nutrition, quit smoking, teach the signs and symptoms of preterm labor, and progesterone supplementation if the patient is deprived or if in need. Management of preterm labor. The management includes first one to prevent the preterm onset of labor if possible, second to arrest the preterm labor if it is not contraindicated, and third one is to appropriate management of the labor and effective neonatal care. The predictors of preterm labor include, first one is the clinical predictors, that means history of prior preterm birth, multiple pregnancy, presence of genital tract infections, symptoms of preterm labor. Biophysical predictors include uterine contractions more than 4 per hour, Bishop score more than 4, cervical length by transvaginal ultrasound less than 25 mm. Biochemical predictors include fetal fibronectin in cervicovaginal discharge. Investigations include CBC, urine for analysis and culture sensitivity because many of the cases a urinary tract infection may contribute to the preterm labor. Cervicovaginal swab for culture of fibronectin, USG for fetal well-being, cervical length and placental localization. Serum electrolytes and glucose levels when tocolytic agents are to be used because when we use a tocolytic agent, some means or glucocorticosteroids, it may change the blood sugar value. So we should have a baseline data. For that we have to check the glucose level before the starting of the treatment. Measures to arrest the preterm labor include, the scope is to arrest the preterm labor is limited as majority is associated with maternal and fetal complicating factors where the early expulsion of the fetus may be beneficial. It is indeed unwise to attempt to arrest the onset of labor in such cases. Thus, that means in case of a PIH or eclampsia, fulminating eclampsia, in those cases we may have to deliver the patient as early as possible. So it is not wise to arrest the preterm labor in those cases, but there is only negligible proportion of cases where the fetus is not compromised, the maternal condition remains good and membranes are intact. The following regimen may be instituted to attempt the arrest of preterm labor. They include, first one is bed rest, adequate hydration to the patient, prophylactic antibiotics not routinely given unless there is an infection, and tocolytic agent. Tocolytic agents means the drugs which we use to prevent the uterine contraction or stop the uterine contraction. There are short-term therapy. The objective of short-term therapy is to delay the delivery for at least 48 hours for the glucocorticosteroid therapy for the lung maturation of the baby. In utero transfer of the patient to a unit which is more able to manage a preterm labor. So it is better to transfer the mother along before delivery to a better hospital than after delivery. So because for that we can use the short-term tocolytic agents. If the conservative therapy is not successful, tocolytic therapy is started. This drug should be used only potential benefit to the fetus outweighs the potential risk because all the tocolytic agents carry some or other risk factors, so we have to check which is beneficial for the patient. Tocolytics which inhibit the myometrial contractility are magnesium, terbutaline, indocin, and nifedipine. Contraindications to use the tocolysis include intrauterine fetal death, lethal fetal anomalies, NRFHT, severe IUGR, choriohemorrhage, severe preeclampsia. Tocolysis. If the cervix dilates, tocolysis, that is a drug that stops the uterine contraction, can usually delay the labor for at least 48 hours so that corticosteroids can give and reduce the risk to the fetus. The goals means to transport the patient to a tertiary care center, administer corticosteroids for the lung maturity, and to prolong pregnancy. That means more effective when it is started before 3 cm dilatation. Not data that suggests that tocolysis improve any index of long-term prenatal or perinatal morbidity or mortality beyond steroid administration. Tocolysis indications: if less than 37 weeks of gestation, no evidence of infection, a viable fetus, and non-threatening maternal complication. We have seen what are the common tocolytics. They are magnesium sulfate, calcium channel blockers, or prostaglandin inhibitors. No tocolytic is clearly the first line choice. Choice should be individualized to minimize the adverse effect. First is the beta-mimetic agents like terbutaline or ritrodrine. These drugs stimulate the beta-2 receptors which cause uterine relaxation. Ritrodrine administered IV or orally. Terbutaline may be administered subcutaneously or orally. Frequent monitoring is necessary to observe the side effects of increased heart rate, shortness of breath, chest pain, decreased BP, hypervolemia, decreased potassium, hyperglycemia, and hyperinsulinemia. Before starting the administration, baseline ECG, CBC with differential count, electrolytes, glucose, blood urea nitrogen, prothrombin time, and partial thromboplastin time to be monitored. Beta-mimetic, otherwise known as terbutaline, act on beta-2 receptor cells located in the smooth muscles which decrease or stops the uterine contraction. Dosage 0.25 mg subcutaneously every 20 minutes. Contraindications are cardiac arrhythmias. Potential maternal adverse effects include tachycardia, cardiac arrhythmias, pulmonary edema, myocardial ischemia, and hypertension. Potential fetal adverse effects include tachycardia, hyperinsulinemia, hyperglycemia, myocardial or septal hypertrophy, myocardial ischemia. Magnesium sulfate is a commonly used and typically well tolerated, which interferes with smooth muscle contractility. Exact action is not known. Administered in an IV infusion pump. Drug administration to be monitored: pulmonary edema, loss of tendon reflex, and decreased respiration, hypotension. Calcium gluconase and antidote, and it should be kept ready. If it is used, it should be used with the same protocol as in case of pregnancy-induced hypertension. IV magnesium sulfate should be considered with pregnancies less than 32 weeks. In utero exposure to the drug appears to reduce the risk of severe neurological dysfunctions like due to intraventricular hemorrhage, including cerebral palsy in neonates. Calcium channel blocker of nifedipine. It relaxes the smooth muscle by inhibiting transportation of calcium, hence negating the contraction formation. The dosage is 30 mg as a loading dose, then 10 to 20 mg every 4 to 6 hours. Contraindications include cardiac disease, use of caution with renal disease, maternal hypertension, avoid concomitant use with magnesium sulfate. Potential maternal adverse effects include flushing, dizziness, headache, nausea, transient hypertension. Potential fetal adverse effects include none currently known, but it can be safely used. Prostaglandin inhibitors, the indomethacin, induce prostaglandin stimulation of contractions. Inhibits the prostaglandin stimulation for contraction. However, after 34 weeks of gestation, indomethacin may cause premature closure of the fetal ductus arteriosus and increasing risk of fetal pulmonary hypertension. So it is not advisable after 32 weeks of gestation. Dosage: a loading dose of 50 mg rectally or 50 to 100 mg orally, then 20 to 50 mg orally, then every 6 hours for 48 hours. Contraindications: significant renal or hepatic impairment. Potential adverse effect include nausea, heartburn. Fetal effect, they contraindicated after 32 weeks of gestation because they may cause premature narrowing or clostridium ductus arteriosus, and others include pulmonary hypertension, reversible decreased renal function with oligohydramnios, intraventricular hemorrhage, hyperbilirubinemia, necrotizing enterocolitis. During tocolytic therapy, we have to assess for fetal status by electronic fetal monitoring, uterine activity pattern, respiratory status, that is pulmonary edema is a common side effect, muscular tremors, palpitation, dizziness and lightheadedness, urinary output should be monitored. General contraindications for tocolytic therapies, category 3 FHR pattern, intraamniotic infusion, eclampsia or severe preeclampsia, fetal demise, fetal maturity. That means if the fetus is already mature, then no need to give a tocolytic, and the patient can deliver. Maternal hemodynamic instability, severe bleeding of any cause, fetal anomaly incompatible with life, severe IUGR, cervix dilated more than 5 centimeter. Corticosteroids. If the fetus is more than 24 weeks and less than 34 weeks, the woman may give corticosteroids unless delivery is imminent. Another cause of corticosteroids can be considered if all the following parts are present. That means the pregnancy is more than 34 weeks of gestation. Then women are at risk of delivering within 2 days, 7 days. Then last course was given means less than 14 hours per prior. Then the corticosteroids role. The glucocorticoid therapy, medical administration of glucocorticoids is advocated where pregnancy is less than 34 weeks. It helps in fetal lung maturation so that the incidence of respiratory distress, intraventricular hemorrhage and necrotizing enterocolitis can be minimized. This is beneficial when delivery is delayed beyond 48 hours of the first dose. Benefit lasts as long as 14 days. Either betamethasone, that is 12 mg IM 24 hours apart for 2 doses, or dexamethasone 6 mg IM every 12 hours for 4 doses being given. Betamethasone is a steroid of choice. Risk of antenatal corticosteroids include: first is premature rupture of membrane, especially with evidence of infection, as the infection may flare up. Second, insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus, where the patients need insulin dose readjustment, and transient reduction in fetal breathing and body movements can occur. Then the third choice of drug which we use in the preterm labor include antibiotics. Antibiotics used only to prevent group B beta streptococcus infection in the neonate. Fetus should receive 2 doses if possible. It can be used also, ampicillin can be used. So the first stage of labor, the patient should be put on the bed. Ensure fetal oxygenation by giving oxygen to the mother. Strong sedative should be avoided because the strong sedative can cross the placental barrier and it may depress the neonate's respiratory center, and it may further complicate with RDS. Labor should be watched by intensive clinical monitoring. In case of delay or anticipating traumatic delivery, better go for a cesarean section. Second stage, the birth should be gentle and slow to avoid compressions and decompressions of the head. Episiotomy may be done to minimize the head compression if the perineal resistance. Tendency to delay curtailed by the forceps. The cord is clamped immediately to prevent hypovolemia and hyperbilirubinemia, and shift the baby to an ICU. Place of cesarean section. Routine cesarean section is not recommended. Preterm fetus before 34 weeks prevented by breech are generally delivered by cesarean section. Lower segment of vertical J-shaped cesarean section is commonly done. Nursing assessment during tocolytic therapy. We have to assess for fetal status by external fetal monitoring, uterine activity pattern, respiratory status because pulmonary edema is one of the common complications of the tocolysis. Muscular tremors, palpitations, dizziness or lightheadedness, urine output, patient education to sign the symptoms of preterm labor, patient education to sign the signs and symptoms of infection. The nursing diagnosis for preterm labor include: first is anxiety related to medications and fear of outcome of pregnancy, risk of injury to the fetus secondary to prematurity, risk for complications secondary to tocolytic therapy compromise, family coping secondary to hospitalization. But for decreasing anxiety, now the contraindications and potential complications of tocolytic therapy, explain the purpose and common adverse effect of tocolytic therapy, provide accurate information on the status of fetus and labor, allow the woman and her support person to verbalize their feeling, encourage relationship with other patients who are experiencing preterm labor. Injury to the fetus, encourage the woman to assume lateral positions that will enhance the placental perfusion, monitor the fetal status and labor progress, assess the delivery infant as needed, notify the provider the signs of advancing labor. Minimize the risk of drug-related injury, maintain accurate intake output at least an hour, assessment maternal vital signs in accordance with the facility policy, notify the primary healthcare provider if the maternal pulse greater than 120 beats per minute, assess signs and symptoms of pulmonary edema, periodically assess dependent reflux to note the signs of hyporeflexia due to magnesium sulfate infusion, excessive dosage or poor renal clearance may lead to magnesium sulfate toxicity, discontinue infusions if adverse effects occur, notify primary healthcare provider, educate the woman on tocolytic therapy, explaining the purpose and common adverse effects. Promoting maternal family coping, encourage private time for woman and the partner, allow visitation with other children as tolerated by the woman, encourage other family activities helping with homework. This will assist maintaining family unity. Community and home considerations include: ensure the woman meets the following criteria for home management of preterm labor. They include: no evidence of active preterm labor, no evidence of intraamniotic infections, no the cervical dilatation is less than 3 cm. Ensure protocols or orders are in place for each of the following: that warning signs of preterm labor, demonstration of uterine self palpation by the woman, monitoring vaginal discharge, signs of spontaneous rupture of membrane, assessment of urinary frequency, signs and symptoms of UTI, diarrhea, pelvic heaviness, pressure, maternal temperature, uterine cramping and tenderness, frequent home visit for doing the NSD, FHR assessment, vaginal examination evaluation is necessary, and close healthcare provider contact. Patient education health maintenance include: educate the patient about the importance of continuing pregnancy until term of fetal line maturity, encourage the need for compliance with the decreased activity level or bed rest as indicated, teach the patient the importance of proper nutrition and need for adequate hydration, teach the woman that signs and symptoms of infection and report them immediately. Thank you for listening.